In July of 2017, Forbes published this article, the story of a Texas tycoon building an empire at 30 years old. The journalist who wrote it called Nate Paul a real estate prodigy. Fast forward about 6 years to June of 2023, a very different headline.
A donor accused of bribing Paxton sits in jail tonight, arrested on an FBI warrant. His name is Nate Paul.
Paul was arrested and charged with 8 felony counts of making false financial reports. To sum it up, this 23-page indictment claims Paul gave reports of having a lot more and owing a lot less money than he actually did when applying for loans from credit unions and mortgage lenders to help fund his real estate investments. In one instance, the indictment accuses Paul of providing documents, quote, reflecting an account value of more than $14 million for an account with a, quote, value of less than $13,000. The government wants him to pay $172 million, the amount of the loans he obtained while allegedly providing false documents. Nate Paul's day in court over these accusations will come. But Ken Paxton's impeachment trial was built on a different but related accusation.
In August of 2019, a search warrant is executed. A criminal search warrant is executed by DPS and the FBI on property belonging to Nate Paul.
This is video from a hearing held by the Texas House Committee that investigated and charged Ken Paxton with impeachment articles, accusing him of interfering with the FBI's investigation of Nate Paul. And this is video of part of a nearly 4,000-page pile of evidence released by that committee, showing Paul is in a meeting with his attorney and one of Paxton's top officials at the time, trying to get information and even pushing back on that investigation.
It sliced all the Wi-Fi lines. They destroyed my camera system. So that happened at all 3 locations.
In it, you can hear David Maxwell, who was the director of criminal law enforcement for the AG's office, standing firm.
Most stuff you're complaining about is certainly within the law.
And then this exchange between Maxwell and Nate Paul's attorney.
I don't think that our raising these kinds of questions, talking to you, talking to Ken, whoever, is any way of obstruction. We're just trying to figure out what happened.
I understand, but they're going to think that that's what we're doing, trying to obstruct a federal investigation.
Now, when Paul was arrested, his attorney released this statement to WFAA, saying his charges have nothing to do with Ken Paxton, nothing whatsoever, and called the impeachment effort weak. But former prosecutor turned UNT Dallas law professor Angela Downs says the prosecutors in the impeachment trial will focus on shutting that down.
The prosecutors on this case will be able to make those connections.
Back in 2018, Paul contributed $25,000 to Paxton's campaign. They were connected, but that's not unusual. But Paxton is accused of misusing his position as Attorney General to do favors for Nate Paul and his business in exchange for favors of his own. In addition to accusations that he used his office to help Paul get info on his own federal investigation, the articles also claim Paul hired a woman Ken Paxton was having an affair with, and in exchange for his legal help, Nate Paul hooked Paxton up with some home renovations.
Nate Paul admitted that she worked for one of his companies. However, he did not know how much she was paid and could not identify a single specific project that she worked on.
The evidence released by the impeachment committee actually includes this employment contract, showing that the woman worked for Paul. There are also records from Uber showing fake accounts allegedly created by Paxton using the service to visit Nate Paul and his alleged mistress.
This is almost uncharted territory. To have someone whose name, Mr. Paul's name, being part of the conversation, being connected to so many particulars of the case, really puts you on notice.
And many legal experts believe that Paul's current legal issues could prime him to switch his stance.
He's really in a position where he's got to start thinking about his defense and how he can protect himself. And so this might put him in a very vulnerable position where he might be willing to, to speak against the Attorney General.
And as for Nate Paul's own legal woes, trial is set for July of 2024, an undoubtedly much different story than the one told back in July of 2017. In North Texas, I'm Morgan Young.